Ma'am, good evening, ma'am. We are on live and we are starting the session, ma'am. Ma'am, can we start, ma'am? Ma'am, shall we start the session, ma'am? You are on mute, ma'am. Yes. So we are starting, ma'am. So very good evening, doctors. I'm Dr. Stalin on behalf of Shield Healthcare, welcoming you all for the today's webinar. Topic for today's webinar is oocyte quality and IVF success. So I welcome all the participants and I request them to post their queries in the chat box, if any, so that we can have a short Q&A session at the end of this presentation. And now it's time to introduce our invited speaker for the day, Dr. Yarni Seluraj ma'am. Madam has done her MD DGO and FI COG. And Madam has also done her diploma in reproductive medicine from Germany. Madam is currently the managing director of Madurai Ponni Fertility and Research Center and chief consultant gynecologist, IVF specialist in Madurai. Madam is practicing fertility treatment for the past 15 years. Madam has also worked as the assistant professor in Madurai Medical College in OG department. Madam is associated with various associations like IFS, ISAR, MOGS, Indian Menopause Society, and PCO Society, FOXY. Madam is also the editorial board member of International Journal Annals of Clinical Case Study and Reports, University of Texas, USA. Madam has presented more than 350 presentations in both national and international journals. Madam has received various awards for her service and credit, like Amazing Woman Award and Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Excellence Award, Mayan Awards, Best Clinical Paper Award in Fertivision 2019, Certification of Achievement Award from World Congress of Human Placenta and Fetal Nutrition and Metabolism. So with this short introduction, I welcome you, ma'am. Handovering session to you for further proceedings, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Good evening. At the outset, I'd like to thank Shield Pharma for giving me this opportunity to deliver my speech on. Am I audible? Deliver my speech on.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yes, madam. Very much audible, ma'am.
Yeah. Oocyte quality and how it has an impact over the success of IVF. Yeah, I bring greetings from Pune Hospital. This is today's topic, how oocyte quality has an impact over the IVF success. We all believe that the egg count is the primary indicator of the fertility, but both egg count and the egg quality affect fertility. But the true driver of fertility is egg quality. The lack of proper tests to find out the egg quality makes the whole issue even more complex. So how do you assess the oocyte quality? The oocyte quality is defined by factors such as ability to undergo meiotic maturation, fertilization, with proper embryonic development, resulting in a successful pregnancy. And age, it has an bad impact over the quality of the egg. The egg quality refers to the state of an egg as genetically normal or abnormal. And age has a negative impact over the quality of the egg. As you age, the higher percentage of the eggs inside your ovaries contain genetically abnormal things. They become genetically abnormal. A normal egg should have 23 chromosomes, and an abnormal egg will be having either 22 or 24. Once an egg becomes abnormal, it can't become normal again. Egg quality cannot be improved. Egg quality is fairly black and white. Either an egg is genetically normal, it is euploid, or it is genetically abnormal, it is aneuploid. As women age, a higher percentage of their eggs become abnormal. This purely is a function of age. In women in the 20s, most of the eggs will be normal and some of them will be, few will be abnormal. But as she becomes older and when she reaches her 40s, most of the eggs will be abnormal and a few will be normal. And no matter how healthy a lifestyle they maintain. This chart shows that how the egg quality goes down as your age progresses. So it is inversely affecting the egg quality. Now, women's ovaries are naturally programmed to allow just one egg to grow, mature, and be released or ovulated each cycle, usually each month from each ovaries. That one egg represents the one chance for pregnancy in that particular menstrual cycle. That egg ovulated may be either normal or abnormal. Abnormal eggs typically don't fertilize or implant in the uterus, but in rare cases they do and will result in miscarriage or genetic disorders like Down syndrome. How is the oocyte quality measured? Oocyte selection is based on the morphological parameters related to the cumulus cells, polar body, and cytoplasm. It has been speculated that some morphological irregularities that are easily assessed under light microscopy may reflect a compromised developmental ability and could therefore be useful for selecting competent oocytes prior to fertilization. So what are the factors that influence the oocyte quality? Fresh matured oocytes with intact first polar body or enclosed within the zona pellucida, made up of glycoprotein and consist of meiotic spindle with aligned chromosomes, microtubule organizing centers, that is pericentriolar materials, located at the spindle poles, mitochondria, microfilaments, and regularly aligned cortical granules underneath the oocyte cortex in the cytoplasm. The zona pellucida is covered with abundant cumulus cells. Aging or over-mature oocytes in association with numerous morphological and cellular alterations, including changes in the structure of the plasma membrane, zona pellucida, cytoskeleton, and mitochondria. So as the egg ages, there are a lot of changes that are seen in all these things. It is also associated with displacement of the spindle, misalignment of the chromosomes, and displacement of the first polar body and cortical granules. The presence of clear first polar body and the attachment level of cumulus cells are major indicators used to determine the quality of oocytes because these are easy to observe using a microscope. First polar body. The recent studies have investigated the correlation between the first polar body morphology and the oocyte competence. Although the first polar body does not participate in the development process, studies of mouse oocytes have supported this connection. The first polar body morphology is frequently used to evaluate the oocyte quality. Oocytes with an intact first polar body have high fertilization rates and a high oocyte quality, whereas those displaying a first polar body characterized by large size, irregular shape, rough surface, or fragmentation are developmentally less competent after IVF, and they yield poor pregnancy rates after embryo transfer. The first polar body degeneration occurs within a few hours after extrusion, and it is associated with oocyte aging. Some PBI, first polar body, shows displacement from the M2 spindle at nuclear maturation, and the distance between the first polar body and the M2 spindle increases over time during oocyte aging. Moreover, the perivitelline space increases over time and facilitates the lateral displacement of the degenerating first polar body. Greater the distance, poorer the quality of the oocyte. Meiotic spindle is a chromosome distribution cytoskeletal structure critically important for the accurate distribution of chromosomes to the dividing blastomeres, thereby ensuring accurate embryonic development. In fresh oocytes, the spindles display a vertical orientation with respect to the oolemma, and the spindle poles associated with the pericentriolar materials to create a compact bipolar spindle. You could see the picture on top. This morphology changes during aging at the M2 stage. The spindle becomes elongated and or loses tension in its microtubules and becomes weak. The shape of the spindle is determined by the position of the spindle pole and changes over time after spindle formation. Oocytes exhibiting a reduction in the distance between the pericentriolar materials at the spindle pole have a higher developmental potential than those exhibiting an increase in the distance between the pericentriolar materials. So the shorter the distance, the better the quality of the oocyte. When the distance between the pericentriolar materials is short, a small rhomboid spindle body is formed, and as the distance increases, a large spindle is formed. The morphology of the mitotic spindle is an important indicator of the oocyte condition or the oocyte quality. Now we'll look into the cumulus cells. The cumulus cells are critical for oocyte maturation, ovulation, and fertilization, and are a determinant of the oocyte quality. Cumulus cells support energy production in the cumulus oocyte complex, and the cumulus cells that surround oocytes may protect against the damaging effects of reactive oxygen species. Recent studies suggest that the mitochondrial function of the cumulus cells can directly influence the ability to achieve a successful pregnancy. Now we'll look into the mitochondria, which plays an extremely important role in supplying the energy that is consumed during the maturation process. Higher ATP content in oocytes and embryos has been correlated with better reproductive results among the infertile patients. In contrast, mitochondrial dysfunction has been implicated in decreased oocyte quality, and clinical and experimental data have suggested decreased oocyte quality as the main factor in the age-related deterioration of reproductive capacity. Oocytes in higher concentrations of ATP have significantly higher fertilization and blastocyst formation. Lower ATP content in oocytes is at least partially responsible for positive spindle formation in vitro maturation of mammalian oocytes. ATP is extremely important for nuclear and cytoplasmic maturation events. Due to the critical role of energy metabolism in oocyte maturation, ATP content has been proposed as an indicator of the developmental potential of oocytes. Now we'll move on to the molecular markers that are related to the oocyte quality. There are multiple microarray studies which were performed to identify markers associated with the oocyte quality and developmental competence in oocytes or both oocytes and the cumulus cells. Based on a meta-analysis of previously published microarray data for various models of oocyte and embryo quality, 63 candidate genes associated with oocyte quality across several species were identified. Biological networks and transcription factor regulation associated with oocyte quality were also identified. Now, let's see what is microRNAs. Gamete maturation requires extensive signaling between germ cells and their surrounding somatic cells. In the ovary, from the theca cells, neural grandosa cells, cumulus cells, and the oocyte, they all secrete factors that are critical for ovulation of high quality oocyte throughout follicle growth and oocyte maturation. Recent studies of a variety of species have uncovered the presence of cell-secreted vesicles in the follicular fluid. These cell-secreted vesicles contain small non-coding regulatory RNAs, which are known as the microRNAs, which can be shuttled between the maturing gametes and the surrounding somatic cells. So they form a relationship between the maturing gametes and the surrounding somatic cells, these microRNAs. In humans, it is known that extracellular microRNAs of follicular fluid are associated with fertilization ability and early embryo quality. Although little is known about the exact mechanism by which microRNAs are loaded with these cell-secreted vesicles or transferred or modulate the gene expression and function. However, recent studies suggest that microRNAs in cell-secreted vesicles are involved in oocyte maturation. These microRNAs involved in gamete maturation are potential therapeutic targets and diagnostic markers associated with fertility. So they act as potential therapeutic targets as well as the diagnostic markers associated with fertility. And visualization of oocyte quality by intracellular temperature imaging. In oocytes, during the transition from germinal vesicle to the M2 stage, virtually all major organelles undergo important changes in structure, function, and its distribution. The oocyte during M2 arrests it in a highly dynamic state with the spindle microtubules keeping all the chromosomes perfectly aligned on the metaphase plate via proteins such as maturation promoting factor, MPF. Furthermore, in the mature oocyte at M2, substantial changes such as the spindle formation, chromosome alignment, and mitochondrial activity to acquire developmental competence occur with the potential for an elevated temperature. The intracellular temperature in mature oocytes was higher than fresh oocytes immediately after first polar body extrusion, and the temperature decreased with time after polar body release. The differences in oocyte intracellular temperature can correlate with developmental competence. Fresh oocytes had high temperature regions localized around the cell membrane and around the spindle. So this is a schematic representation of the intracellular temperature in mature oocytes. The first oocyte A is the fresh one, and the B represents the overmature or the aged oocyte. The fresh oocytes had high temperature regions localized around the cell membrane and around the spindle. The red and yellow spots indicate the high temperature, whereas the blue and green show the low temperature. Common features of oocytes, particularly their high physical appearances in size and shape, how they influence, we'll see now. The homogeneous cytoplasm in a normal oocyte commonly found in healthy adult women. This is a quality oocyte ideal for conception to develop into embryo. So the cytoplasm should be homogeneous. And centrally located granulation of the cytoplasm, CLCC, has dense granule clustered at the cytoplasmic center. Studies suggest that this type of oocyte causes aneuploidy that often results in miscarriage. And cytoplasm with smooth endoplasmic reticulum cluster, SERC, has fluid-filled vacuoles inside. This type of oocyte is proven to be less likely to develop into blastocyst and implant. The occurrence of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum cluster impairs the embryo implantation. Thus, it is inappropriate for transfer. And the cytoplasm with several small vacuoles distributed throughout the oocytes. And the small vacuoles of 5 to 10 micrometers in diameter are unlikely to have a biological consequence, whereas large vacuoles more than 14 micrometers are associated with fertilization failure. In oocytes that are fertilized, those vacuoles that persist beyond syngamy can interfere with cleavage planes, resulting in a lower blastocyst rates. Studies suggest that features of oocytes can partly predict the likeliness of conception or embryonic development, but unable to indicate the genetic abnormality. Egg freezing technology is an important option for a woman who is not ready but plans to have a baby in the future to preserve her chances of having a biological child. So these are some of the tips to improve the egg quality, which arrest infertility. So we have to live a healthy life, improve your health, stay healthy in order to improve your fertility quiescent. Maintain a healthy weight, because being either underweight or overweight can affect the egg quality and thereby result in infertility. We have to manage stress. It has been found that more stressed the woman is, the longer it takes to become pregnant. Build tools to manage stress by yoga, meditation, or low impact exercises. We have to avoid smoking, caffeine, and alcohol. It has been medically proven that alcohol reduces the chances of fertility. As for smoking, apart from the myriad of harmful effects of smoking, nicotine contained in cigarettes is toxic to eggs. Caffeine contained in coffee is believed to adversely affect the egg quality. And antioxidants help with free radical damage caused by stressful environment or environmental toxins. Taking fertility supplements may increase the production of quality egg and thereby increasing the chances of fertility. Eating good food will enhance your overall health, and which in turn may act as a catalyst to improve the egg quality. Grains, full fat dairy products, nuts, leafy green vegetables, and berries are ideal. We have to avoid processed foods full of excessive salt and trans fat. That is a must. And now I'd like to mention about the giving of PRP, platelet-rich plasma, by intra-ovarian infusions. This will result in follicular growth and maturation in women where the poor ovarian reserve or who have encountered premature ovarian insufficiency or women of perimenopausal age. How can we tackle such people? By proper counseling and the signs. We have to get a proper consent. They have to sign the consent forms, and the grandocyte colony stimulation factor administration of 300 micrograms, 2 doses on 2 consecutive days prior to the PRP installation is advised. You have to extract the blood for PRP from the periphery and mix 5 ml of anticoagulant with 45 ml of blood. Mix well and centrifuge for 15 minutes at 1500 RPMs. The plasma rich in platelet will be separated and it will collect in another, you have to collect it in another tube, leaving the orifices. Centrifuge the second tube at 3000 rotations per minute for 10 minutes to get the platelet pellet. Leave behind 5 ml of plasma above the pellet and discard the remaining. Resuspend the pellet in the remaining plasma and use immediately. This procedure yields 7 to 10 times of platelet concentration. This is the procedure how we achieve the platelet-rich plasma. And the selection criteria for this PRP ovarian institutions are those who give a history of poor ovarian response, that is less than 3 eggs per cycle, and with high FSH and LH, low estradiol values, and who will give a history of 1 cancelled IVF cycle, when the AMH is less than 0.5 to 1.1 nanogram, and antifollicular count of less than 5 from both ovaries, and lacking any underlying diseases causing female infertility. The procedure is PRP into the ovaries was done with ultrasound guidance under aseptic precaution using 17 grams ovum pickup needle. We have to inject 2 to 4 ml of autologous PRP into each ovaries. Our results are quite impressive. I have done it for 6 patients, and the values on the left are the ones, that is the LH, FSH, all are high before PRP, and the AMH was very low. It was about 0.5, 0.4, 0.08, 0.3. And out of 4 patients, 4 have become pregnant, giving a success of 66.6%. The values after PRP, you could see the AMH had improved. Though the follicle count is not increasing, the quality of the eggs have improved dramatically. So PRP injected into women with poor ovarian reserve paved way to successful ovarian rejuvenation within 1 or 3 months. 4 women out of 6 who got this installation became pregnant and they have delivered. So giving a success of 6.6%, and 1 patient didn't come for follow-up. So now the take-home message is not the egg count, but the egg quality is the true driver of fertility. Age inversely affects the egg quality. The egg quality is determined by ability to undergo meiotic maturation, fertilization, to develop into a proper embryonic or embryo, and should lead on to successful pregnancy. The morphology of oocyte is related to cumulus cells, polar body, cytoplasm, meiotic spindle, and mitochondria. Egg quality can be improved by leading a healthy, stress-free life, avoiding smoking, caffeine, and alcohol. And intra-ovarian platelet-rich plasma insulation is a promising boon to people who are suffering from poor ovarian response or poor ovarian reserve. Thank you so much for your patience listening. Before I conclude, I would like to quote Clement Stone's verses that success is achieved and maintained by those who try and keep trying. Thank you for your patience listening. Questions are invited.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for that interesting session, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, let me wait for 1 or 2 minutes for the participants to post their queries, ma'am. If there is queries, then I'll read it for you. So I request participants to post their queries. Ma'am, I have personally two or three questions, ma'am. Like, you are saying about that age is one of the factor, ma'am. Nowadays, a young woman also having this problem, ma'am. So
yeah,
what could be the reasons for this poor oocyte quality, ma'am? In young women?
Yeah. We are using a lot of pesticides and fertilizers. We have forgotten our own heritage. We have gone to our lifestyle had been so sedentary nowadays. Our children are not playing properly. They are not spending time outside home. Most of the time they are in front of like laptops or cell phone, and they are exposed to a lot of radiations, and they are so fond of junk food. They are not eating fresh fruits, vegetables, and like these are so many foreign intrusions. That is, the developed countries thing have come into our society, and a lot of men are wearing this jeans, which increases this total temperature and results in less production of the sperm quality also. And for our climatic, we are in tropical region, and we need a lot of loose fitting cotton dresses so that we have free flow of air circulating in our private parts. This is not seen nowadays. Most of our girls or teenagers are wearing jeans, pants, tight-fitting synthetic garments, which will all have a negative impact over the egg quality. So the lifestyle that had been changed, the food habits, the sedentary life, and being exposed to radiations, all these things have brought down our fertility. Previously, some 30 years ago and all, wherever you turn, you could see the red symbol of family planning, the inverted family planning red triangle. But nowadays, wherever you turn, you could see all fertility clinics, because or her fertility has gone down. It's because we have changed our heritage, we have forgotten our heritage and lot of things. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So these are
And
the things that are
genetic problem also
not,
is there, ma'am.
yeah, genetic problems also are there because diabetes is going up in our, we are considered to be the diabetic capital in the globe. And not only that, Indian women, they age 5 years ahead of their counterpart, European counterpart. And that's also a reason because our ovarian aging is more faster than the Europeans or the other people.
Ma'am, I have another one question, ma'am. Whether
Yeah.
these stimulation protocols, like high dose of gonadotropins, can affect this oocyte quality, ma'am?
Of course, the more number of oocytes you achieve, lesser the quality of the oocytes. So when you stimulate the, I think 5 oocytes from each ovaries is enough. So if the number of the oocytes are increasing, the quality of the egg will also go down. So that could be also a reason. So overstimulating the ovaries will also result in poor quality oocytes.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, whether this AMH level can be considered that if AMH level is good, it can be a good oocyte quality, ma'am, or further?
Yeah, we rely on two things. One is the antral follicle count and then the AMH values. But we can't rely more on the labs because I have seen patients with the poor AMH but still producing good quality eggs. The number may be quite small, say 3 or 4, but the quality will be good. So, but there are certain things like antioxidants and the other things can improve the quality of the egg.
Okay. So can understand that supplementation also plays a major role.
Yeah, of course. That's why I advise this fresh leafy vegetables, millets, taking millets instead of rice. Instead of the white polished rice, we can go for the hand-bound red
Brown
rices.
rice. Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Another one issue is the PCOS, ma'am. The woman, most of the women nowadays are having this PCOS problem, and
our teenagers are all suffering from PCOS mostly because of the weight. Weight is obesity is a big problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Our young girls, teenagers, they are so fond of all these junk foods, these fast foods, and most of them they don't eat at home. They just go and eat elsewhere, and they lack exercises. Most of the time, they sit before the gadgets like laptops or computers and cell phone. And even because of the 2 years of COVID, all our children, even my grandson is wearing spectacles because he was most of the time in front of the systems only. So that had also affected our children. So we should advise them to be like us. And there is a generation gap, I could see that most of our younger generations are very lazy. They are not as workaholic like us. We were something I could see from my junior doctors and our nurses. They just want to earn more but work less. That's the principle of our present generation.
True, ma'am.
Yeah. Anything else?
How can we just evaluate the quality of oocyte, ma'am? Whether this ultrasound alone is enough, ma'am, or ma'am?
Yeah, ultrasound and we do Doppler studies to find out the quality of the egg. I mean, 3/4 of the follicle should be covered with a good amount of blood supply. And if you use the Doppler, power Doppler, it should not be more than, it should, the Doppler should range between, the resistivity index should be ranging between 4.3 to 4.9. It should not go beyond that or go less than 4.3. And we can assess the endometrium quality also using the same Doppler. And the resistivity index should not be beyond 6 when you assess the endometrial quality. Not only the egg, the endometrium should be also equally good. Then only it will result in successful pregnancy. So the triple line should be seen. The thickness should be more than 8 millimeters, and it should be richly supplied with blood vessels or blood, and some of the vessels should reach up to the central zone. The central line should be reached. It is zone 3. So by that also we can assess the quality of endometrium as well as the egg quality. This is by ultrasound, using ultrasound.
Yes.
And when you take out, the embryologist should assess what all I was talking about. So looking into the morphology of the oocyte, they can assess the quality of the egg.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one last question, ma'am. You have done this a PRP study now, ma'am. So when to start the treatment, ma'am, and when to start, and at what time it will give the better result, ma'am?
I told about the criteria for
Yes.
for whom all we could do PRPs.
Okay, ma'am.
And you have to do for with 1 or 3 months prior to your ovum pickup. You have to do this PRP installation. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I clear?
Yeah, ma'am. You're clear, ma'am. So thank you, ma'am. I don't find any other question.
So after PRP, you have to wait for 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Yeah. Though
Okay.
you won't get a lot of eggs, the number of eggs won't go up. But if you have just 3 or 4 eggs, the quality will be very good. And it had resulted in positive pregnancies in my study.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, I don't find any other question in the chat box, ma'am. So,
okay.
Otherwise, then we can end the webinar for today, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We should thank you for being with us today, ma'am. So you are spending your valuable time with us today, ma'am. I would like to also thank the participants for their active participation, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.